Good morning. How are you? Well, it's a beautiful day. Sorry I couldn't get out yesterday. I had things to do, and it took me into the evening, and I was spent some time at the office and working a case with another member of the firm, and so I couldn't get to you guys. But the benefit is that I have a couple of thoughts that I haven't really heard said in the discussion about Stormy Daniels' testimony against Trump. But first, let me give you the Jefferson weather report. 72 degrees, 2-mile-an-hour winds, sunny and pleasant. So that's exciting. Tomorrow, I have to go to Johns Hopkins, so I don't know what will happen in terms of posting a walk and talk from somewhere, but we'll see. The Stormy Daniels thing, and I'm not going to go over how everybody was so excited about the details but didn't really analyze them. And the way I would analyze it, and the jury may get it implicitly or expressly, because they're sitting there focused on this now. And I don't think this is the most sensational thing that's happened, but it was very dramatic. And Trump's reaction to it was dramatic, so much so that the judge told his counsel in the sidebar that what he's doing is in contempt, and you talk to him and you stop it. Now, in my experience, when the accused sits at a table and makes motions and glares at the witness and stuff like that, I've seen it have the opposite effect, meaning hoping to communicate something to the jury by making these expressions redounds to the benefit of the prosecution, because it sort of proves what a scoundrel you are and proves the coercion. Now, let me move into it. It is pretty clear that Trump's relationship with Stormy Daniels was, from his perspective, transactional. He goes to the room, she goes to the room, there's a guard there, she's 27, he's 60-something, and she is in a situation where she is dominated. And Trump is entirely object-oriented. And perhaps consistent with the Access Hollywood tape, when she goes to visit the ladies' room and comes out, he's sitting on the bed in shorts and a t-shirt. Now that's quite a presumption in any relationship with a person that you've never been with before. And that is seen to the jury. And it is coercive because he is an authority figure, if you want to put it in the Me Too category of offenses. And again, think, in the Access Hollywood tape, he's talking about how he can grab a woman in such a way that's offensive to her, but he can do it because they let you do it, he says. Well, do they let you do it, or are you coercing them so that it's permitted for fear of what will happen should they deny you? He supposedly has a guard at the door, which is interesting. So now there's a difference in age, but that doesn't trouble me as much. She's 27, he's 60-something. But there's another presumption. She's young enough, and he's taking no precautions with her to protect against her becoming pregnant. And she's a young woman. And so that's a heightened concern. Now, for his own self-protection, to do it without protection for her getting pregnant, he asks her if she's had any sexual diseases. So it's all about him. It's just like everything else we've heard about him. So the defense says this is outrageous and irrelevant. And it's not, because this comes within close quarters with the Access Hollywood. In the Access Hollywood tape, in which he talks about his overtures to women and how they wouldn't resist and so forth, that almost tilted his boat over. and Republicans came out against him. And Rudy Giuliani was the sole person who went on the air and said, it's nothing, it's locker room talk. Although I don't know any male who's been in a locker room has heard anything like that. So the relevance of what happened, I think, is significant, because imagine if voters on the tails of Access Hollywood heard of this, and in the detail that she spoke about yesterday. That is something a candidate in his position within days of the election, in a close election in terms of the electoral vote, in a runaway election in terms of what Hillary Clinton got in the popular vote. And I guess no one could know what would happen, because we spent the long evening waiting to see how the electoral vote went. So there's no question that this is outrageous. Now, say instead the testimony was, I met him, I liked him, and we had a small affair. It was pleasant. Different story. Do you hide that? Well, it's not as dramatic. It is more wrongly accepted that people have affairs, and people might just shrug their shoulders about it. Now, there's another thing here that's distressing, and it's about how the defense handled this. And I'm not in the courtroom and I can't hear all of this, but when somebody adduces testimony, if it is hurtful to the plaintiff, you object. Now, when I say hurtful, I mean it has to be impermissible. That is beyond the directions of the court for what may be admitted about this relationship with Stormy Daniels. Now, the defense did not object to a number of things that Stormy Daniels said. When they did object, the judge sustained the objection, and that material may not be considered by the jury if it was heard. So what was going on? It feels like, among experienced trial lawyers, that the defense for Trump, they wanted it both ways. They wanted her on the stand. They wanted her to say something outrageous that they could say justified a mistrial. But as the judge pointed out, I wondered why there weren't more objections, because the judge is not in the position to regulate the case in that fashion. That is, to choose winners and losers without someone making an objection or asking to limit testimony. So that didn't happen during her testimony. And the judge said, you carry the weight for some of that. Then on top of it, we had the misconduct by Trump while she was on the stand. So I think all those whiners out there who say this will present a problem on appeal, I really don't think so, because the defense decided to sit on its laurels and try to have it both ways. Make some objections and then ask the court for a mistrial because all of this was allowed in. But it was allowed in because they didn't object. There is one conversation that the judges decided he is going to give an instruction on, maybe others. And the incident involved a man who came up to Stormy Daniels and implicitly or expressly threatened her. And while one may conclude that Trump had something to do with it, there's no proof of that. So Stormy Daniels was a big victory for the prosecution. And if evidence before this hasn't sealed Trump's deal, this certainly does. Now, there's still time for things to go wrong. There's McDougal and Cohen. But I'm pretty sure that the jury is inhaling the evidence in a way that puts Trump in jeopardy. In other words, Trump's going to lose this case. So, sorry I couldn't get out yesterday, and I'll try to get out tomorrow. And in the meantime, right now there aren't trees where I am, but you'll get to see the sweep. Here I am on the road leading to the Cathedral of Trees. And until tomorrow, bye-bye.